everyone. In this video, we'll be going to discuss how to purchase and sell collectible items on eBay, including antique and collectible glassware, tube radios, 35mm cameras, and more. If you're a reseller or interested in becoming one, you're in the right place. My goal is to make you more knowledgeable and more profitable as a reseller. I'm just going to say hello to a few people in the chat as we have people come in for the live stream. And then, as I like to say, we'll get this party started. Every Wednesday, I bring in other resellers to interview and have them share with us their tips, their tricks, and their processes. Like I said, to help us be all more profitable resellers. So let me just say hello to a few people, and we shall get started. Well, my guest is in the chat, so that's a good thing. That's a good start. Sharon, my moderator, is in the chat. Thank you, Sharon. And I'm sure Michelle will be in the chat shortly also, my other moderator. So there's, like I said, there's just a few people in the chat, guys. So like I tell you, I like to get the show started so the people that are watching the replay, I don't have to wait around and say, what is this guy doing? Hi, Angie. Long time no see. It's great to see you. Thank you for being here. So like I said, we're going to get started, and I will bring on my guest, and we'll get started, and she'll educate us about different glasswares and different things that she sells, collectibles that she and her husband source and sell on eBay. So let me bring her in, and we will say hello to Miss Jen. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. Hi, hello, everybody. How are you, Adam?
Good to see you, Jen. I'm doing well. So like I said, I'm going to put you on full screen. You're going to be the star of the show for a minute or two when you tell us all about you and your husband's Dan's eBay store and what you guys like to sell, and just a little bit about your background and how you got started selling on eBay. So okay, you are up, young lady.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Jen Goodkind. I started selling casually on eBay, just collectible things that we had around the house. When my husband came on board, we took it full tilt and we started kind of upping the game a little bit. We went for more valuable items that we could resell, and it just kind of blossomed from there.
Okay, we're going to get a little more in depth.
Okay.
How did you start in reselling? Did you have a parent, or did you have a relative, or when you were young, were you like Casey the Rockstar Flipper? You sold trading cards when you were in high school, or how did you get started in reselling?
Okay, honestly, it all started with a Cheyenne Hawk tattoo gun.
Okay.
I will make a very sordid and long story quite short. Okay. I had met a gentleman, and I use that term loosely, who was going to do some ink work on me. And I was thus far going to help him gain his status in the tattoo world. Okay. Well, let's just say it didn't happen. So here I'm stuck with an $800 piece of equipment that's never been used. And I turned around and sold it on eBay. Got my money back and then some. And then we started selling some collectibles that we had around the house. I believe one of the next things we sold was matchless candle. It was bought before the ink was dry on the paper when I printed out my listing. Then it went to a couple other things that just we sold the Star Trek 3D chessboard, and that sold. So it was quite casual. And then we said, well, let's just kick it up a notch and make this a business. And Collectibles found us. We didn't find Collectibles.
Okay, you're saying Collectibles found you. Could you enlighten us on how Collectibles found you?
Well, a lot of you YouTubers, I've been following you guys for years, and a lot of y'all sell clothes, and tried my hand in that. It was an epic fail. So what we sold was what we had around the house. It started with books and other collectibles, just D&D stuff that we had laying around for years.
D&D, Dungeons and Dragons?
Yes, okay.
Sir. I read that, but I figured that was what it was.
Yeah, and I had some old D&D books from when I was a GM back in the day, and we just, it was just stuff that we had around the house. Then when we ran out of stuff around the house, we decided to go to the bins, and it was the epic treasure hunt, to see what you can find in the bins. And we followed every reseller tip and trick we could find on YouTube. and sold what we could. And it has blossomed into that and grown into that since my husband's come on board full time. We've kind of upped the ante a bit. I used to live in Vegas, so up in the ante, we wanted to sell more high dollar collectibles. So we got into some of the glass, carnival glass, depression glass, 35 millimeter film cameras, believe it or not, expired film for those cameras, transistor radios, you name it, and some oddities.
And then we found tube radios.
And then we found the tube radios. Yeah. My husband's over here chiming in. We found the tube radios, and that is its whole ball of wax. Every collectible has its own very tight niche, and each collector is very serious about what they collect, whether it be books, depression glass, carnival glass, check glass, electronics, you name it. They are ranging from novice to hardcore. So, you know, you got to learn to speak their language when it comes to collect.
We'll definitely get into the various glassware. We definitely want to get into that because that's what, you know, you're an expert on that. I'm going to have you share that with my audience. You're talking about, you know, collectibles and speaking the language, and people are very particular, especially collectors. Again, I tell people I follow the other YouTube channels, and I follow some of the groups, and I follow the various blogs on reselling, try to keep, you know, up to date on everything and keep passing along information. I do have a Facebook group. If you guys are interested in joining that, I try to have information in that as well. One thing people are talking about all the time about record collectors and how serious they are. They want all the nitty gritty, and even things like collectible toys and things. People want all, you know, detailed pictures and descriptions, and, you know, that type of thing. It's like, obviously, you know, because you sell collectibles, how demanding, which is fine, and as long as you're providing great product and showing good pictures, providing good pictures. And I mean, obviously, you and I have discussed offline about how you really value the customer, and you're really all about the customer service, which is obviously very important in any business, especially in this online business that we're in.
Yeah, actually, it's funny you should say that, because my business model, when I started even selling as a casual, if you will, seller, was I wanted to bring a more personal approach to a rather cold click, buy, ship atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I always felt that if you can know what your collectors want, know what they need, know what to look for, know your niche. Collectibles is such a, how do you say it without just like, okay, collectibles makes purple dust want to fly out of my head, because there are so many different branches of collectibles, and then there's more branches with those collectibles. So finding out, you know, where you want to be, what you're interested in, what you're passionate about, and what you can source in your area will kind of define, and that in our case is what defined and kind of honed us into the branches per se of the collectibles that we sell. It's because what's regionally available for us at a good price that we can sell, of course, you know, for a max profit.
Okay, now you're in the Midwest, I believe.
Yes, we're in a suburb of Nebraska. We're actually in Bellevue.
Okay.
Yep, we're right outside of Omaha.
Okay.
So that's where we're able to source here locally within.
Right. Now, obviously, like you said, it's the old saying: find something you love to do, and you'll never work another day in your life. Obviously, like you tried the typical, like most of us have tried getting into reselling, tried to sell clothes because they were plentiful and they were reasonable, and takes a lot of work. And you know, like I tell you guys, I follow some other channels like Ronnie Hart that is up in Cape Cod. I mean, he finds a lot of high-end men's clothing, and he's an expert on men's clothing. So great. He has access to high-end men's clothing. I find the Kmart, the Sears, the Walmart brands, you know, typically Target, Kohl's. That's what I find typically. So what do you feel? I mean, I just out of curiosity, I don't even know if you have an answer to this. Why do you feel that this collectible glassware is ready available? Is there any kind of Have you had like a philosophy, like why it's readily available for you guys?
Well, it's the way we source. And actually, I'd have to
Right.
hand it over to my husband, Dan, because he does all of our sourcing. And as you know, he's had a lot of health problems.
Right.
So it's kind of put our store on, we've been in kind of vacation mode since before Labor Day. But it's what's ready available. And, you know, with collectibles, no matter what your niche is, the collectors are actually going to determine the market value.
Okay.
If the market is flooded, then of course it's going to decrease your price. And, you know, there are 3 words I cannot say enough when it comes to any collectible: condition, condition, condition. And I cannot emphasize those 3 enough as far as the condition, because you can have the most valuable collectible on the planet. It could be rare as, you know, like only 2 of them. And if it's not in good condition, there goes your profit, and no one's going to want to buy it.
Right. It was funny because I have a friend of mine, and he wasn't collectibles. He sold a little bit on eBay. He sold, of all things, he sold collectible corkscrews. And I want to get into this a little bit with you, not corkscrews, but a little bit about selling collectibles online. And he said what was weird was that, you know, I was talking to him about some issues with people buying vintage things and high-end designer things, and them being counterfeits and things. And he says, believe it or not, even corkscrews are counterfeit. I said, really? Corkscrews are counterfeited? He says, here's Adam, some of those corkscrews sell for $10,000. So there's opportunity for people to make that kind of money. There will be counterfeits.
I would say that is true across the line, no matter what you sell. There's always going to be a counterfeit bag or shoes. There are also knockoffs of your glassware. You know, some of the glassware that, you know, we want to talk about. It doesn't matter what there is. If they can make a knockoff for pennies on the dollar and get away with it, there's always going to be a knockoff, even if you're selling electronics, tablets, phones, etc. You're always finding, you know, bags, handbags, shoes. You're always going to find those knockoffs.
Right. So, like I said, we're going to get into like the various types of glasses. Like, you know, we talked about, you know, the depression glass. I'm not going to call it uranium glass. We're going to call it Vaseline glass. So you corrected me about that.
Yeah.
Touch that quickly about why we don't call it uranium glass. I'll just touch on that a little bit.
Well, we sell globally. We've used eBay's global shipping program. And when you use the word uranium, okay, and this can even apply to a clock. This Crosley clock doesn't have it, but let's imagine that this clock here has the glow in the dark, either the hands, you know, or the numbers. Well, the only way you can get glow in the dark and get that fluorescence is with a little bit of uranium. And if it's an antique, yeah, and it will kind of set off their radioactive Geiger counters, if you will. This is an example of some Vaseline glass. This is just a green part of a open creamer and spatula footed sugar bowl, and it will fluoresce under the black light, and it will not always be green like this. I don't know if you can see this on the cameras there. Can you see that fluorescing?
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Can you see that glow?
Yep.
Okay, under your ultraviolet light. Now, why we want to use the term Vaseline glass is, every hardcore collector knows this is Vaseline glass. You use the word uranium, it could possibly, for anything, could possibly get intercepted by customs going into no matter what country it goes through, and that piece gets destroyed. And we have pieces like some of the pieces that I have behind me that are, you know, 80 to 100 plus years old. It's criminal, basically, to have these intercepted and destroyed. Plus, you have a collector that doesn't have the piece, and the world is lost another beautiful, wonderful item. So,
okay, well, let me ask you a question again, since we are on the Vaseline glass. Besides the color, and like I said, you were telling me earlier when we bring that up too, you have like a little sourcing kit that you take when you go out sourcing. When you touch on that a little bit, and again, I want to get into how you determine whether it's Vaseline glass, if it legitimately is Vaseline glass, or it's just some kind of glass that looks like Vaseline glass.
Okay. Well, just one of the things I take with me on my sourcing kit, and I took a page out of Casey Rockstar Flipper's book. I always bring batteries, little screwdriver for battery compartments, etc., etc. One thing you really need, a jeweler's loop.
Jeweler's loop. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And this particular jeweler's loop is 40 by 25 millimeters. Okay. And it has UV light, and it has.
Oh, there's a UV light built into it.
It has a UV light, yep, and and just a bright LED light to help you see things. And this would be particularly, useful for, a piece if you're looking for, say, a very small maker's mark on the bottom. You can pop your loop on, and you can take a look. And you can see if there is any etching or anything inscribed on it. One example I would use, and I don't have one in front of me, is GES, Glass Eye Studios. They make hand-blown beautiful hand-blown glass egg paperweights. And they're all etched and inscribed with EGS, Eyeglass Studios. Glass Eye Studios, my bad. And the loop will always help you see that. And, also different UV light, very small, just what I used earlier. That's basically the way to tell you Vaseline/uranium glass. It will almost always fluoresce underneath the black light.
Okay. One of the things it's funny, you kind of read my mind, because I mean, I'm trying to learn all these little niches and things, with the jewelry and different things, and talk about sterling silver, and from such and such a time before that, prior, it was not marked. It wasn't any kind of marking that it was.
Yeah, you're actually referring to what is called the Stamping Act of 1903.
1903, correct.
1903, the Stamping Act was enacted, and any silver that is plated or 0.925 must be stamped.
Okay. Now, how does that would that apply to any of this glassware? Does it have any, or just strictly the silver?
Actually, it would apply to some glassware. I don't have an example of that in front of me, and that would be a Fenton, what they call wedding basket. That wedding basket is it's got a silver around it, and it's got a handle, and then the bowl or whatnot would fit in it. So to find out if it's pure sterling silver, it'll be marked somewhere on there, 0.925, or it'll say plated. And sometimes there's double plated, quadruple plated, triple plated when it comes to silver and silver items.
Okay, now as far as like the maker's mark, before a certain year, did they have maker's mark, or is it just it's random depending upon the person that made it or the company that made the glass?
Depends on the country of manufacturer, and this is where I always want to
country of manufacturer.
My research.
Okay. I don't know if it's like country or company. I'm assuming it's like country.
I actually have a small book here, just as an example. It is antique marks. Okay, and it's like a pocket edition. And it has antique marks for silver, pottery, dating back, and it's from all across the world.
Okay.
And a lot of makers, they don't have a like their name stamped on it, for instance. They'll just have a hallmark.
Right.
And the hallmarks will change over age and time. And knowing the hallmarks can actually help you date some of your items. And do we have a glass egg to show?
Yeah, that was my first question.
Yeah, I'm looking at my husband.
Okay. You have Vanna White helping you over there?
He's going to look actually to see if we have one of those. And no, not handy. We have sold some in our stores.
You look on the bottom.
That one's not marked. No, it's not. This one's not marked. This is actually check glass.
What kind of glass?
Check.
Check glass. Okay, because
Check
you were going to talk
glass.
about check glass.
Check glass.
Okay.
It's Czechoslovakian glass.
And
And
what makes it Czechoslovakian glass?
it is Czechoslovakian glass. There is no maker's mark etched on it, but from the modeling of the glass and the red tail tells me that it's probably a Czech Tango. I'm not quite sure. So that's why he's like sitting ready to be photographed, but he's not totally identified. So I really like to know who I'm listing before I list.
Now the check glass. Okay, what are the intricacies about that? Does it have that yellow like mottled color? I mean, is that
depends on what maker you're talking about, and there are so many makers and styles of check glass. Moreno is one of them. I've got a piece in the Moreno style. It's just the way they make their creations. Speaking of check glass, this right here, this is an example of Czechoslovakian. This is Caesar. You can hear that?
Yes.
That beautiful ring. This is hand-cut crystal with a 500 carat band. And as you can see, the raised molded flowers
Yes.
on it. This is a very beautiful piece. And this is Bohemian Caesar crystal, which was a line that Caesar put out. There is a sticker on here somewhere. Yep, right there. Caesar. Not all.
So what again? You had different colors. And what check glass is just made in Czechoslovakia? Is there any kind of thing that makes it check glass?
Check glass is made in Czechoslovakia. In fact, there's a very wonderful website that I like to go to for. I can find my book of websites for check glass. I think it's 20th Century Glass.
Okay.
I believe that's the name of it. Also, yeah, 20thcenturyglass.com.
Okay.
And for Carnival Glass, D. Dottie. He is my guru.
Okay. You told me you have upwards of 50 books that you use to identify your collectible items. Right.
Several books on Fenton.
Right.
Warman's has got a book on depression glass. It helps you identify things. The difference between carnival glass and depression glass.
That you read my mind. I was going to ask you, what is the difference? And just a little bit about each one. What what are the characteristics?
You might not know this, but this is Fenton, and this is a hobnail pattern. This is not actually considered carnival glass. It's actually considered EAPG, early American press glass. But it doesn't have any iridization. So there's no shining on it. Like, say, this Fenton. This actually is a very lovely electric blue. It's on cobalt. You can see the
that's beautiful.
And this is a Fenton Persian medallion on cobalt. I don't know if you can see. Camera's giving the beautiful variances of the.
I've never seen it. I've never seen any of this kind of glass. It's just obviously we'll get into your sourcing later where you find these things, but I don't find that at my Goodwills. At least I'm not. I guess maybe I haven't noticed it, but and maybe they don't even put it in Goodwills. Maybe they put it right up on their the Shop Goodwill website. It never even makes it to the floor.
This is depression glass. This is Anchor Hawking, and it is their hobnail design.
Myra had a question about the previous thing you were showing. She says that pre-logo Fenton.
Yes, definitely. You can for sure tell the age of your Fentons by the logo, and you will see there is no circular oval with the F with the Fenton design in it.
Okay.
Which will give you a date. There also is a few lines that Fenton only made for like QVC and the Home Shopping Channel. So knowing if it was made specifically for that, we had an E-Perm, beautiful 3-piece E-Perm that was made for the QVC or Home Shopping Network. I can't remember which. But they were a contemporary Fenton. If you've got that oval with the F, that's a contemporary design.
Okay, so that's their maker's mark. Okay,
They didn't start.
and it's changed over the years, contemporary as opposed to the original maker's mark.
Well, generally on a lot of these pieces, these older pieces, you're not going to find a maker's mark.
You're not going to find a maker's mark. Okay,
No.
that's kind of why I asked you about. We were talking about the sterling silver and the act in 1903 or whatever. I was just curious if there was any kind of date.
Imperial Glass Company is just about one of the only companies that you can find. A lot of way you can delineate, you can figure out who made a piece is by their borders and their edges. Some companies like Northwood, Dugan, Fenton, whatnot, they all have their own style of the way they do their crimped edges. So that can sometimes be very helpful for you to just, it takes years and years and years to be able to, at a glance, look at a whole table of glass and say, that's a this, and that's a that, and that's a that, and that's a this. It takes a long time. And I've only got about 3 years in this.
Okay, so you've been selling for about 3 years now. Okay,
with the glass, yeah.
The glassware, right.
So much to learn.
Sure. Did you see the question from Cindy and I posted on the screen?
What is the oval with the Fenton spelled out, just not the F? Yeah, it should have. And I have some other examples, but unfortunately not with me.
That's okay.
It will have the oval, and it'll have the swirly, like cursive F, and then the N. Sometimes they're only halfway marked on there. You've got to look very closely. It depends on how old is that mold. How many times has it made glass? Because after a while, those molds, they start to wear out.
Oh, really? Okay. So then they just create another mold. So I mean, I guess and the mold is individual. It's slightly different, I'm assuming.
Yes. Just to give an example, this is a Fenton. This is what's called a swung base. The pattern is diamond and rib. And this may not be I keep all of our little misfits. So I collect the ones that aren't perfect. This one shows a couple examples of like what people would not want to see. There are a couple of spots where it's losing some iridization. I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm trying to find a spot. We call those flea bites.
You mentioned that before, flea bites. I had no idea what you're talking about. Okay, so it's a flea bite.
They're small nicks with loss of iridization. Now, not to be confused with what we call sickly. You notice some of the colors in one of the others I showed you. This is another Fenton, but you see how it's just not shining as brightly as it's.
Yeah, it's hard to tell on YouTube, but yeah, okay.
So that's what more we would consider sickly. That means somebody
sickly, so it's not as iridescent as it typically would be.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And there was no quality control. Some of these pieces go back to 1901, depending on the maker. And you know, they didn't have quality control. For example, this is a ruffled rib. This is by Dugan. This is called a compote. It's on amber. Actually, that's more of a, it looks fruit beer. It's really more amethyst kind of. As you can see, look how fantastically that is.
That's
if you
beautiful.
look right deep inside. I don't know if you can see
right.
Little dark spots. Those aren't flea bites. Those are cinders.
Cinders. Okay, why don't you tell us what cinders are since we're talking about cinders.
Basically, it was all. A lot of our carnival glass depends on what kind of mood the glassmaker was in that day. So they put it in the mold, and they call these swung bases for a reason. This is another example of a Fenton.
They look like swans, right?
Swung.
Oh, swung.
This is another Fenton.
Call that SWONG.
Swung, SWUN, like swung, like you swung.
Oh, like swung a bat. Okay.
And they'll start with something like this. Like these are both Fentons. This is considered crystal, even though it's not leaded crystal. They just called it crystal because it's clear. This is iridized, metallic iridized. And if you look at the collar base, it's on amethyst. But what they would do is they would start with these, and they would actually come up looking kind of like This guy here. This is another Fenton. This
Okay.
is which one is this? This is ruffled hat on blue. Well, they all start off like this, and they start off, and they can turn out to be, if they want to crimp the edges and they want to flatten it out, then you get this. If they take that basic mold that's a cup and they decide they want to take the malleable molten glass and swing it, literally swing it around, let gravity do its work, centrifugal force, it pulls it and elongates it out.
That's why they call it swung glass, obviously.
Yep. And then they spray on their iridization, their metallic salts, and they refire it again. And if they want, they can go ahead and make what we call a whimsy. And that's something, you know, this isn't exactly a whimsy. This is a Jack in the Pulpit, the sexual shape, I guess you could say. So it all depended on what the glassmaker wanted to do that day.
Right.
And they worked in very harsh conditions and there was no quality control. So when they sprayed on metallic salts, iridization, yada, yada, they all came out different. So they're all unique and snowflakes, I guess, in their own right.
Let me ask you about the Fenton glass. Obviously, you were speaking a lot about Fenton glass, so obviously, I'm sure. I should say obviously. I don't know. I shouldn't say obviously. You know, they say when you assume. With the Fenton glass, how do I, if I'm sourcing, and again, I don't even know if I'm going to find this in a Salvation Army or a Goodwill. How would I, if I'm shopping the glassware section, how would I know even to I mean, obviously, I guess you look at everything is what you do. I mean, there's certain things. I mean, obviously, you're a lot more skilled than I would be. But somebody new that's getting into glassware, how would I know what to look for if I'm outsourcing in a thrift store?
You know, finding them in thrift stores and whatnot without them being, remember my 3 C's, condition.
Right.
Without them being taken well care of and whatnot. What you're most likely to find in some of these thrift stores would be depression glass. And some depression glass can get very easily confused with makers like Fenton.
Okay. How is that?
Anchor Hawking, for instance.
Right, Anchor Hawking, right? Been around for forever, right?
Yep, this is Anchor Hawking. This is Moonstone. This is probably circa mid 30s, early 40s.
Okay.
Okay, it's got this beautiful, I don't know if you can see, kind of this opalescence here. It just like kind of turns to look a little bit blue.
Now, does Anchor Hawking have the maker's mark on that?
Well, actually, Warman's is one of my best go-tos for that.
Yes.
The bottom design here is what gives it away.
That's what, okay, identified it. Okay.
And here's a sherbet dish by the same maker with your star pattern there on the bottom. Now, here's where I'm going to blow your mind and really get people super confused. These right here, you notice they have the hobnail pattern and they're miniature bud bases. One is what we call a trilobal. If you look at the colors of them, they're about the same. However, the glassmaker that day decided he was going to fix into a trilobal and leave this flared. Now, this looks a lot like Anchor Hawking, which is depression glass, but this is Fenton, 2 totally different animals. The way you can tell is by the hobnails themselves. These hobnails are much more pointed. They're much more pronounced. You can see them on this, and you can see them on this red-handled basket. How pronounced?
The hobnods are like the little protruding things on it?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is hobnail. This is opalescent hobnail. This is Anchor Hawking as well, depression glass. And this is pink hobnail. Very, very popular design.
You said pink?
Pink hobnail. Yeah.
Okay.
And
it's not, I'm assuming it's pink. It's not showing up on the screen, but it's pink.
It is. It's
okay.
pink.
The other one I can see, like the dish, I can see more pink on it, right?
Yeah. This is also Anchor Hawking. This is called Blue Bubble. And it's a very light blue. Okay. So big difference between the two, but very easily to get mistaken.
Okay, why don't you just tell us the difference between what we're on this carnival glass and depression glass? What are the differences? I don't know if that's
You know,
difficult.
well, because take Fenton for example. They made a lot of, they're considered. Oh goodness! Now I know why all these people, when you're watching a TV show and you're screaming the answer at them and they're not answering the question, and you're over here going, "Come on, come on, come on." When you think carnival glass, people most typically their brain goes to the iridized.
Right.
You go to something, you think of something like this. This is a Northwood. This is called Three Fruits Medallion. It has spatula foot, and it also has an under pattern. I don't know if you can see this.
Wow.
This beautiful.
I've never seen like anything like that at any of my thrift stores or yard sales or garage sales.
And it also has a back pattern, which means there's a pattern on the back.
Wow.
Okay. Now this guy, he does have a little flaw.
Oh, okay.
And he's got a very small chip. I don't know if you can see right there.
Okay, just putting it out there. If it didn't have the flaw of the fall, what's something like that we're looking at?
This with the iridization as it is, the condition that it's in, it could be easily a $200 piece.
Okay.
Without the chip.
Without the flaw, right?
It was pristine. It was pristine. And this is a Millersburg. This is a grape wreath. This is what we call a 3-in-1 edge. And if you can see that, lovely. It's very brilliant.
Yes.
And you want to look at the base color. The back, it doesn't really have a back pattern, but you can see that what we call a 3-in-1 edge because it goes 1, 2, 3, and 1. 1, 2, 3, and 1.
Okay.
And there are oddballs like an extra berry here or something that makes it a little bit different. If this was in say this has only been seen in bowls and in plates, and you have it in something like a spittoon, or say you have one of these in the shape of this is considered a nappy, and nobody's ever seen one of those, then that, of course, rarity, scarcity does increase the value as long as you're in great condition.
Myra wants to know if you go to the Fenton convention.
No, actually, we joined the Carnival Glass, Heart of America Carnival Glass Association. But we haven't, we get newsletters, but no, we haven't gone to any conventions or anything since the last eBay open because of COVID and whatnot. So,
yeah. Okay. Why don't we just touch on a couple of the other collectible things you do, and then I want to get a little bit into your sourcing. We talked about, we're going to discuss how you source. I mean, obviously, you probably could do 4 hours if anybody would stay on my YouTube channel for 4 hours to learn about all this glassware. Obviously, there's a lot of research you have to do. And like you said, all the different books that you research through. But let's just touch on a couple of the other categories you sell, and then we'll get into sourcing a little bit. And then we'll obviously get into shipping. There's been questions about shipping in the chat. I mean, obviously, everyone's like, oh, my God, I don't have to ship that stuff. Let's get into
that's its own animal. So where would you like to go from here?
Well, I had to clear my throat, so that's where I want to go right there. Let's get into your other things. You said you collect and sell 35mm cameras. You sell tube radios, transistor radios. Why don't you get in that? Just touch on that briefly. Like I said, I wanted to really concentrate on the glassware, but let's just touch on that.
Well, we've had the opportunity to come across, believe it or not, there is a lot of people that still like to take their photographs with good old-fashioned 35mm cameras with 35mm film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not just collectors, but photographers alike. So, yeah, my husband's over here saying they're teaching it in colleges again.
Really?
Well,
okay.
We've had a lot of success buying, 35mm cameras. And of course, we're not like taking pictures and then sending them off to be developed to test them. We have developed our own way to test them.
I was going to ask you, how do you test things if you don't have film? I assume you have film, right?
You want to make sure the shutter's closing when it should, that the battery compartment, it doesn't have corroded battery and whatnot inside. You do want to look inside the camera, make sure there's no scratches on any of the lenses. A lot of it is the lenses.
Okay.
Say you have a telescopic lens.
Like you informed me, which I knew, glass. We call
glass.
glass.
No, it's something we call glass as photographers.
Right.
Glass. One of the things you want to look for is zoom creep. So if you've got
Zoom creep.
long, it's called zoom creep.
Never heard that.
Very long, heavy telescopic lens.
Right.
If you tilt it down, it should not elongate on its own. That's called zoom creep. No photographer wants that. You want to look for fungus. You want to look for lens separation, scratches. And once again, that's where your jeweler's loop comes in handy. And what I like to call the eye of God. And that is when we really look at everything, we've got a very large LED shoot-through ring light.
Okay.
And it goes all the way up to color and temperature of like 6,500 K, which is very bright.
Very bright.
And what we do is we have a workstation within our queue, how we set things up. And what we do is we look at these things under the eye of God and our jeweler's loops, magnification, and what we can. There's some things that you can clean and some things you cannot.
Right.
And that's a whole different story as to what do you clean, what do you not clean? Because sometimes you can devalue your collectibles by cleaning them.
So there's patina on cameras as well?
No, what you really just want to do is get any dust or dirt off very carefully.
And what would you use for that?
Well, we start everything off with just a damp microfiber
Fibertel.
Not on the lenses, not on anything, just maybe on the camera body. Cleaning is kind of a whole other ball of wax that's quite extensive depending on what you're cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
So, we make sure items are clean before we photograph them, no matter what they are. Okay. I clean all my carnival glass in Murphy's oil soap. Okay. I have a tub that I put in my sink, room temperature water. We have very hard water here in Nebraska, and I clean, all these guys, because usually they've been on a cabinet, on a shelf, whatnot. You can't tell what's dirt. You can't tell what are flea bites, whatnot. Mm-hmm. And the Murphy's oil soap is very gentle, and it actually leaves a little bit of a, I guess you could say, protective, a little bit of a oily kind of layer. It makes it more attractive, but it doesn't, you're not doing anything to actually alter the appearance. You are just cleaning it with one of the best surfactants, gentle, that you can clean, dry with a soft towel, and leave her be. Because it is what it is. You cannot put lipstick on this pig.
That's nice. I like that. Why don't you touch on your tube radios and your transistor radios?
For that, I'm going to step aside and I'm going to let my husband.
You're going to bring the expert on, Mr. Dan?
Yes, Dan. This is my husband and business partner, Dan, and I'm going to get out of the way and I'm going to let him talk to you about. He does our sourcing.
If I would have known that, Jen, I would have bought him one a long time ago.
Wow.
That's all right.
I'm just joking, guys.
Transistor.
I'm glad you're here, that you're doing better.
Oh, thank you. Tube radios started manufacturing back in the early 20s, and all the way up until the mid 50s, they were using vacuum tubes for radios. It's its own animal. If you've ever listened to an old tube radio, the sound on it is a lot different than the newer radios with transistors and everything in it. That's an example of a vacuum tube right there. And they can go good, they can be bad. And I've got a tube tester to test all the tubes inside each radio. And there's a lot of different makers of tube radios. There's a lot of different models of tube radios. And you can learn a lot by going to looking up the models on WorthPoint or TerraPeak to find out if your model is valuable or not, because some of the models are more valuable than others. Zenith is one of the premier manufacturers of tube radios, and their models traditionally sell for 20 to 50% more than other models do.
Okay.
Unless you get a really rare one, which is
How about RCA? I'm reason I'm asking that 'cause it was based a few miles from where I live right now. Was where with school to RCA was founded.
RCA is a good manufacturer, and a lot of their radios, their Golden Throat
The Golden
radios,
Throat, yeah.
are really good, and
Okay.
I've managed to sell some of those for a good dollar.
Sure.
Well, we get them in, we clean them up, we refurbish them. Sometimes, sometimes completely, sometimes partially. It really depends on the value of the radio and how much money we have to put into it to make money on it. Some of the radios we've bought for $10 to $20. We spent $150 to $200 to bring them up to speed, back to factory specifications, and clean them up, make them look pretty, and they'll sell for $200 to $500.
Okay.
Sometimes you spend $15 on a radio, and it's not worth the amount of money it would cost you to refurbish it. So you sell it for somebody else that wants to do it themselves.
I'll themselves to sell for parts. Right.
Yeah, you sell it for parts as is, not working, even if it is working, and you might sell it for $50. So you make $25 generally on a radio, no matter what you do, if you're careful.
You should even transistor radio sell. I was surprised to hear that.
Transistor radios, there's a whole collector's market for transistor radios.
Okay.
And it's pretty unique because transistor radios are their own animal, just like cameras or glass or anything else that you want to sell. You can find transistor radios in garage sales. You can find transistor radios at Goodwill, and most people don't pay any attention to transistor radios. They'll sell them for 50 cents or $1. Some of these transistor radios that are old and collectible, they'll go for anywhere from $50 to $500 a piece.
Panapets.
Yeah, There's a round radio made by Panasonic that's got like a keychain on it. It's called a Panapet.
Or a ball and chain.
Or a ball and chain radio. Those you can pick up for $5 to $7. If it's in good condition, they'll sell for $35. If you've got the box with the instructions and everything else, it's $100. So everything's about condition on the radio. It's just like it is on anything else that you're selling as collectible.
Okay, so that's an opportunity, guys. When we hopefully get through this, hopefully shortly, this worldwide event that we're dealing with, and we can have garage sales and yard sales. I know some areas in the country are very plentiful. I know Sharon has done very well on her yard sales and garage sales. In New Jersey, they're pretty much non-existent, especially now that we're rolling into the fall and the winter. But that's something I was going to keep in mind. If you see transistor radios, I guess put it in on eBay. You touched on something that Jen and I had discussed pre-chat that we wanted to talk about. And again, you can speak about it, or both of you can speak about it, or Jen can speak about it. She talked about WorthPoint and the value of WorthPoint, and it could very well be worth the investment. Why don't you guys touch on WorthPoint?
WorthPoint costs $39 a month to subscribe to it, and you can use it to help price your products. I use it I do all the pricing, so I use a combination of WorthPoint, eBay, and PicLick. Generally, those
as well.
Three of them.
Nope.
Sometimes
Terapeak.
Not too much on Terapeak, not for pricing.
Okay.
But I get trends and I look at the dates and find out when things are selling for the most money. I look at the most recent sales, and I also go back up to 5 years, because some of the collectibles, you only see them once every 5 years.
They go back. They actually WorthPoint goes back.
At least on WorthPoint, you can go back 5 years and see
Okay.
Or more. Or more.
So we use WorthPoint for helping with our listings, but also they've got like 10,000 different library reference books on WorthPoint, and you can use any of those to help you find items. Some of the books Jen was referring to, they're on WorthPoint.
Worthopedia. It's called the Worthopedia.
Yeah.
So they're basically like, I guess I'm saying PDF, not PDF, but basically they're online. You have access to to do the research through WorthPoint.
Yeah, you can't print out the whole book, but if you want to print out 10 pages, if you've got one thing you're looking at, you can go to 5 or 6 books, find it in each of those 5 or 6 books, print out the 10 pages you're looking for.
Awesome. I wasn't aware of that.
For reference, so
that's there you go. I always talk about Chris, Thrift Shop Hustler. That's a pro tip. That's a great tip. Thank you.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you're in this reselling, you're really into it, and you're selling collectibles, obviously Worth Point is something to look into.
It's really great for identification too.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because a lot of times you can just use a picture for identification. You're looking at Worth Point at, you know it's an RCA radio, but you know what model number it is. So you look at RCA radios. It might take you 10 or 15 minutes of scrolling through page after page, and also you find yours. And
let me interrupt you for 1 second. Marquez, I typed in the chat earlier. Jennifer is a natural for YouTube. She has a YouTube account. She doesn't do YouTube currently.
Yeah, we
natural.
Wait.
Maybe in the future, but at this point, no, she does not have a YouTube channel.
Actually, we do have a YouTube channel.
Well, you have it for your demo your products that you sell on eBay, but you don't do content. You don't do content per se on YouTube.
I have a YouTube channel, which most of you resellers know me as Forever Genuine.
Right.
And that's why I go by Genuine Good Kind. We also do have a YouTube channel for our radios, the ones that Dan was talking about. So look for the treasure chest. And this is our card. And it's Good Kind Treasures, and it's YouTube. And all it is a few, and I'm learning to be a videographer, just a few short clips of some of the tube radios that we've had for sale. So that I can insert that into my listing, and people can click and just automatically go over and be able to hear that radio.
Jen embeds the link for the particular radio we're selling on our listing, and that we click on it, and you get to listen to this radio or that radio, and you can listen to the different sounds and what it sounds like, which is a great benefit to the buyers, because they want to make sure it's either original or that it sounds really good.
Right, so that they can put on, obviously the collectors are going to put their headphones on, they're going to listen to the quality of the sound.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
there's another pro tip, ladies and gentlemen. If you're doing electronics or you're doing those type of collectible items, consider having a YouTube channel, and there are videos. I know other resellers have done it. Lonnie Garage Trips, I think Lonnie's changed his name, YouTube name, but he does have a video. If you research Lonnie Garage Flips, or you get Shed Flips now, or whatever, he had a video where he shows you how to embed the video into your YouTube your eBay listing.
I found a completely different workaround for that.
Okay.
I actually I use Windows 10. So what I would do is open up another tab, and I would copy and paste it into like a faux email, like a draft, and then I do the insert link, and then it pops up this extra window, and it gives you a chance to like insert text here. So I would just give the name of the radio and whatnot, and it would like recreate the link for me.
Really? Okay.
I don't know HTML. So, and then I would copy and paste. Voila! What do you know? It works. So
right.
And sourcing.
I would be remiss. I want to ask you about sourcing and shipping. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about both those things. They're especially shipping. I mean, people are like, well, how do you ship this stuff?
Shipping to me is easy. I've been in the mailing industry for over 45 years, so I understand shipping. I know what the packages, the process they go through, and how they get dropped off the back of trucks and mishandled and played football with. So for anything that's like glass, we wrap it first in bubble wrap, and we use peanuts. We use a lot of peanuts, because if you put about 2 to 4 inches of peanuts around any piece of glass like this, and you put it in an oversized box, it's not going to affect the postage rate as long as you stay within the dimensional pricing, but it is going to protect them. We've had people that have commented back to us that, they were so terrified when they got their purchase in, because the box was all crushed, but they opened it up and found out that the piece inside was in great condition. And that's because, you wrap it properly with some bubble wrap. You spend a little bit of money on your shipping supplies. We do charge for shipping. And the reason we charge for shipping is we use only new product. We use new boxes. We use new bubbles. We use a lot of sheet styrofoam to line the walls of the boxes with, so that they won't crush. And that's how we get things delivered without problems.
We double box.
We haven't really.
I'm going to ask you if you double box as well. You read my mind again. I'm going to ask you if you double box.
We do double box.
Especially on the radios. The
Yes.
radios we have to double box, because the tubes will come out of the radios if they get shook up too much in shipping. So you got to be careful about that. And
we've all seen videos where the delivery person just kind of like throws it on the person's step or porch or whatever, right?
kicks them up the stairs or down the stairs.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, if you double box, or if you put enough peanuts and padding around the piece, they can kick them all they want, and it's going to still be safe when it gets to the recipient, which is the most important thing. So that's
for a lot of my viewers. I mean, we all know the OG Craigslist Hunter. I mean, he's shown videos where he's packing things and he uses a lot of styrofoam, and he uses peanuts as well, I believe, but he uses a lot of styrofoam. And again, he's different than you. He sources it. He dumpster dives for his styrofoam, but that's it's either here or there. I mean, you do what you feel is best for your business. But I know he uses a lot of styrofoam in his shipping.
Yeah. We were buying our peanuts on eBay. And we found a local source, a local company that sells shipping supplies, about half the price of what you pay on eBay.
Oh, really?
For peanuts, yeah. And
are they still competitive shipping wise, or only if you buy them?
Yeah, I can get boxes from them. I can get bubble wrap. I can get peanuts for maybe 60 or 70% of what I pay on eBay.
That's something you guys are willing to share? Or you want to keep that in your back pocket there?
In Omaha, it's Midwest Box, but that's a local person. I go pick it up from them, so they don't have to pay the postage to get it to me. So it's cheaper. So if you live near a large metropolitan area, or even a semi-large metropolitan area, just look them up in the phone directory or Google shipping supplies in my area. And besides, U-Haul and all that stuff, you will find commercial shipping supplies.
Okay, so you just do your research, and obviously, like Joe was saying earlier, do your due diligence. Research it online and see what your local supplier, what kind of pricing they have for a pickup.
Yeah, we can only fit so many peanuts in our cars, so you only buy somebody at a time.
Well, that was the other thing too, and again, I mean, if a lot of us are hesitant to ship those type of things, and it seems like to me like there's a lot of profit once you learn it. And talking to people about peanuts, but I mean, peanuts have a negative connotation, but I mean, if you're shipping those type of products, you really have to use peanuts and styrofoam. My understanding is a friend of mine was telling me now, I don't know what type you buy, but they tell me there's biodegradable peanuts now. I don't know if they're the quality of the styrofoam.
We buy it biodegradable, because
you do buy it biodegradable and they're just as good.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And something else we do in our shipping room is hermetically sealed. No air can get in or out of it. And we use a commercial grade ozonator to help kill all the bacteria, the virus, anything that's
smells,
on the piece,
odors, grandma's
odors.
Attic.
Yeah.
Mustiness.
An ozonator will get rid of that. You can't buy them if you're in California. They're illegal. But they use them in operating rooms to sterilize the rooms. We use it to sterilize all of our product before we ship it. Because sometimes.
Well, once we bring it home, it goes and gets ozonated because we don't know what's on it.
Right.
We've sold a lot of toys, a lot of games and toys, antique toys and antique games. And we don't know what kids have been playing with it. And you can't necessarily wash those off the way you would a cup or a saucer. So, you clean them up as good as you can. But then what do? You're going to send this out to somebody, you might spread a disease to them. So we ozonate everything to make sure that they're clean before they get to the people to buy them from us. Okay,
we had some other topics, Jen. We're pushing it now. I did want to open it up to any questions. I know there have been some questions. I'm trying to pass them along to you, guys. If you have any questions in the chat,
I was paying more attention to you than the other screen over here that had questions.
That's fine. I want to open it up in the chat. If I missed any questions, Sharon or Michelle, or guys, if you want to ask your questions, and if you're watching the replay, if you made it this far, guys, you're more than welcome to ask questions in the comment section when the video uploads. And I'm very diligent about getting into the comments and responding to comments, responding to questions. And obviously, I have a contact for Jen, information for her. So if you have any questions concerning collectible things and what we've spoken about,
no, I don't have an unlisted EPROM. Ask me about something else I have unlisted. I always do try to upsell best I can. Somebody bought Lotus Glastonbury 24 karat overlay. And I've got some bud bases, so I'm going to send them a picture and see if I can't upsell that individual. Just want to drop that out there real quick.
We have about 2,000 things in our storage room, but we haven't listed yet.
Our store has been on vacation mode, or now, as eBay wants to call it, time away. We are top rated sellers, and Dan has been in and out of the hospital since Labor Day, when he had another massive heart attack and had some stents put in. So what I did was, and this is another mistake that I don't want any other eBay sellers to make, just because you go in and you put your store on vacation or time away mode, you must go into your business policy setting and you must change your handling time. Because if you are a top rated seller, you must do the same or the next business day, or it will severely damage your metrics if your products aren't packaged and uploaded to eBay on time. So what I did was I put my store in vacation mode, and I made my shipping time, my handling time 10 days. I have not uploaded, nor have I listed anything new since Labor Day weekend. We've still had a number of sales, and it's more old product, which is good to have it go. But some of the pictures that I have aren't so great. I've got some new lighting equipment, but no, we were able to sell a whole bunch of stuff on the time away vacation mode setting.
Not everything sells right away.
Yeah, and not everything sells every way. You got your fast nickel and your slow dime. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of that too.
Right, absolutely. So guys, I did list Jen and Dan's store in the description. I believe there's a couple other things she wants me to post once the video uploads, guys. For a reason, I have Comcast. It takes over 12 hours for the video to upload with comments. I can't edit it so everything is uploaded, so I will include whatever other contact information they want to have. So I think
smash that like button, guys.
Make sure you smash the like button. And if this is the type of content you guys are interested in, please consider subscribing and clicking on all notifications. And like I told my moderators and some other people, YouTube been kind of wonky. The notifications aren't always going out. We won't get into all the details, but it doesn't always show on my page that I have an upcoming live stream. But there is a workaround, and I might even do a video, even though it's not resale related. I might do a video so you guys can understand where my videos are scheduled, where they're nested on YouTube. So that might help you in the future.
We all need videos for workarounds.
That's true. It's very true.
And I haven't seen you since the last eBay Open in, what was it, 2019?
2018. They didn't have it in 2019. They were doing those local thingamajiggers, they called them. And obviously we didn't have it this year.
I get 2 badges. 2018, 2019.
2018.
Whatever.
2018. They didn't have them last year. That was the complaint because we wanted to go. Casey and I we all wanted to go. And my friend Beth and Valerie, we all wanted to go in 2019. They didn't have it. Obviously in 2020, we didn't have it.
Yeah, well, I've been there for 2 of the 3. Right. I remember you posted, it made me hungry all over again on your channel when we went out to Hell's Kitchen.
Hell's Kitchen, right? We went out with
Steve Rankin.
And Steve Rankin and his video. Yeah.
And, I want to give a shout out to him. If I could, him, the guys at the green room, you, Casey, you guys, have been amazing for a lot of resellers. And I just want to give you guys a big thank you for what you guys have done.
I try to provide good content. Like Jen and I were speaking pre-chat, and I tell people I'm my mother's son, and my mother's a school teacher. I have a personality. I like to live by the golden rule and try to help other people. That's why I do YouTube, guys. I want to try to help you guys be more profitable. And obviously, someone will sink through this thick head of mine, and I'll hopefully I'll learn something too to help me be a more successful reseller. So that's why I do this content, and I appreciate you guys being here. And hopefully you'll subscribe and consider watching my other videos. I have playlists on reselling. They play just like podcasts, guys. You can play them in the background. If you want to stop when you're listing something and literally look at the video, you're more than welcome to do that, but you can just play them in the background. And you'll pick up some pro tips, as I like to call them. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jennifer, Jen. Thank you, Dan. Dan, so good to see you. I'm glad you're doing better, and we'll keep you in our thoughts and prayers.
Thank you. But I just want to say one thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Happy sales, everyone. Cha-ching.
Cha-ching. Happy sales to you. As Prof. Sales used to say.
Happy
Happy
sales,
sales to you. Okay, guys. Hope to see you in the next video.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks.
Be safe out there.
Have a good night. Everybody have a good night. Thanks.